The knife slipped between Hiroshi's ribs with clinical precision.
Did you think I'd never learn the truth about your filthy blood?
Before he could answer, his body betrayed him. A deeper power, dormant since birth, tore through his veins.
The clan can't have a bastard from the rival house standing among us.
The world skipped, then froze. The bustling square became a painting of gray ash. Every person a statue stopped mid-action.
What is this? The knife is still in my heart, but I am not dying.
A window of light appeared before him, inscribed with cold certainty. Time paused. 10 years subjective.
10 subjective years. I am frozen on the edge of death.
He looked up and saw Yuria still wearing her satisfied smirk. Her figure locked in the moment of his murder. 10 years alone in a frozen world. The first question, what would he do? With all that silence, he took a cautious step. The crowd remained a gallery of statues, their conversations frozen on their lips.
The wound isn't killing me. Time is holding my heart together.
He looked at Yuria. Behind her, two men in clan uniforms stood as if waiting for a signal. Accomplices.
She planned this from the start. But why?
He reached into her coat and found a folded parchment, its edges stiff with wax from a rival clan's seal. He read the first line. Once the hunter is eliminated, the path to the elder's seat is open. Signed by the rival clan leader.
They're using my death as a political move. I was never the target. I am a pawn.
Further down, a list of names. City officials, clan elders, a captain of the guard, all promised reward for their silence.
This isn't a single betrayal. It's a web.
He looked up at the frozen city. 10 years stretched ahead, but now he had a reason to use them. He gathered every document he could find. Clan archives, city hall records, private correspondence, all frozen mid-draft.
Weeks will pass subjectively, but I have nothing but time.
He transformed an empty room into a war room, pinning names and locations on the wall, drawing lines in black ink.
Every name connects. Yuria, the rival clan leader. 3 city officials. The web is deeper than I expected.
He traced their frozen trails to hidden safe houses, warehouses, basements, a tea shop, each a meeting point away from prying eyes. Inside the rival clan's archives, he found letters never meant for public eyes. One letter read, "Once the hunter is out, silence the girl who knows too much. Arrange an accident for the old captain."
They weren't just killing me. They were purging everyone connected to the real truth.
By the end, he knew every conspirator, every meeting place, every detail of their plan. The map was complete.
I have the knowledge, but what do I do with it? Revenge or something else?
Subjectively, months bled into years. The frozen silence became his only companion, and time etched itself onto his face.
White streaks in my hair. The eyes glow gray. I am growing old, inside a stopped world.
The isolation was absolute. No voice, no heartbeat, but his own.
I could walk to Yuria right now. Imagine every word of her fear. But would it fix anything?
He traced revenge in his mind. Each conspirator, each moment of panic, but satisfaction felt like a mirage.
What then? After I kill them, what remains for me?
He knelt in a frozen chapel, not praying, but listening to a silence deeper than the world's.
Maybe there's a reason I was given this time. Something beyond hatred.
His face was a cold, calm mask, but the question gnawed at him without mercy.
I have years to decide, but the longer I wait, the less certain I become.
He delved into the clan's oldest vault, where frozen ages layered the air like dust.
This place hasn't been disturbed in centuries. What's inside?
The iron safe resisted for hours, but finally yawned open, revealing a single glowing parchment. It read, "In the 1000th cycle, the god of time chooses one. The paused instant is no gift. It is the trial of the observer.
A trial, not my power, but a test.
If the chosen seeks vengeance, They fail and perish with hatred. If they forgive, they ascend as the eternal observer. As he finished reading, a digital timer flickered into existence before him. 4 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds.
24 subjective hours left. All my years of planning.
The weight of the revelation pressed on him, colder than the eternal silence outside.
So my years of darkness, they were never my own. Is there a third option?
The air in the vault thickened, and from the shadows emerged a shape of shifting light, the god of time.
Hiroshi, chosen of the 1000th cycle. The pause is not your power, but my trial.
So it's real. A divine test, not a miracle.
If you kill, you fail and die with a cursed soul. If you forgive, you ascend as the eternal observer.
And if I choose neither, what if I find another way?
There is no other way. Only the 2 paths I have laid before you.
No third option? The years of planning, wasted.
You have 24 hours. At the end, time resumes, and you will die. Choose wisely.
I refuse to believe that. There must be something else. Justice without killing.
The god of time faded, leaving Hiroshi alone with the cold timer and a heavier silence than before.
Revenge. I see her face when the knife turns on her. A hollow satisfaction. Forgiveness. I become the observer, but the conspirators walk free. The world remains rotten.
The 2 outcomes played before him. Red, vengeance; blue, ascension, both leaving a void.
What good is revenge if I'm damned? What good is ascension if the innocent still suffer?
His mind drifted to the names of victims marked for silence. The girl, the old captain.
That girl who knows too much. The old captain. They don't deserve to die because of this conspiracy.
He recalled the letter's cold instruction. Arrange an accident for the captain. A life erased without a trace.
These people need justice. Not my forgiveness, not my vengeance, but the truth. There has to be a third path. One that exposes the conspiracy without damning me.
The determination solidified. He would make the frozen world speak for him. The idea struck like lightning. He could write testimonies, lay them where they would be found.
Frozen hands will receive my words. When time resumes, the avalanche begins.
He envisioned the frozen captain, a letter placed in his rigid hand. Then the city guards storming the safe house. He returned to his desk, where stacks of paper awaited. The first letter would be the hardest. He began to write. Every name, every code phrase, every hidden meeting spot, etched in ink.
Yuria Renji, the clan elder. They'll never suspect a dead man's testimony.
He detailed the conspiracy with surgical precision, leaving no ambiguity. After hours of focused work, the first letter was complete. He read it silently, a cold satisfaction settling in.
One down. I'll need hundreds more before the timer hits 0.
The first seed of justice was planted. Now he would scatter them across the frozen city. He wrote without rest, each sealed envelope joining a growing hill on the desk.
The more I write, the closer justice comes. Keep going.
His hand cramped until the knuckles whitened, but he wound a strip of cloth around it and wrote on, letters tailored to each recipient. The journalist who would publish, the guard who would arrest, the victim who would speak.
Each letter a stone thrown into still water. The ripples will become a flood.
The timer bled from 15 hours to 12, then 10. He pushed harder, ignoring the ache burrowing into his bones. At 10 hours, the desk was buried in sealed envelopes. Over 100 lives reclaimed by ink.
One for the captain. One for the girl who knows too much. One for every victim they marked for silence.
His body screamed for rest, but the countdown offered no mercy. He could rest when time ran out. Only when the last blank sheet was filled did he set the pen down. Now distribution must begin. He gathered the bundles and stepped out into the frozen city. The first stop was the captain's office. He slid a thick envelope under the frozen door.
When time resumes, he'll find it. The investigation will start within the hour.
Then to the square, where a young girl named Saki stood frozen, Clutching a wilted flower, he placed a letter in her small, rigid hand, testimony of the conspiracy that killed her family. From there, he wove through the streets, slipping letters into mail slots, onto desks, into pockets.
Every letter placed is a witness that will speak when I am gone.
The timer now read 3 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds. Sweat traced paths through the dust on his face.
3 hours left. The most critical letters remain, Uria's and the journalist's.
He quickened his pace, the last envelopes weighing heavy in his coat. He reached Uria's frozen form, her smirk still proud. Timer, 1 hour, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds.
For you, sister. The truth you tried to bury will bury you instead.
He placed the envelope in her rigid hand, then turned away without looking back, the square where it began. He walked back to the exact spot where her knife had struck.
I am back where I belong. The only place I can end this.
High above, unseen by any living eye, the god of time watched.
I chose justice. If the test rejects me, so be it.
He closed his eyes, feeling the faint silver pulse of his paused wound. The timer dropped to 10 minutes. He spread his arms, ready. The silent world held its breath. In moments, time would resume. The timer now showed 59 seconds. He opened his eyes, taking in the frozen world one final time.
10 years in silence. I started with rage, then emptiness, now certainty, god of time. I chose neither vengeance nor blind forgiveness. I chose to arm the truth. If that breaks your test, then let me fail. The truth will burn brighter than my soul ever could.
No response came from the heavens, only the silent ticking of the timer. 10 seconds left. The numbers seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. 5 seconds. Hiroshi closed his eyes. The timer hit 0. The digits blazed red and the pause shattered. Color erupted from his body, a shockwave of life spilling across the frozen city. The world rushed back into motion, and Hiroshi began to fall. Hiroshi hit the ground, blood spreading fast. His eyes found the blue sky for the first time in a decade.
I am dying, but I've never felt more alive. The truth is free.
Across the square, Saki blinked, feeling paper in her hand. She stared at the envelope, then tore it open.
To the girl who lost her family. Your pain was not an accident. It was a conspiracy.
Her legs gave out. She sank to the ground, tears streaming down her face. In his office, the captain bent to pick up an envelope that hadn't been there before. Captain, read this. The conspiracy that killed the hunter reaches into your ranks. Names inside.
Hiroshi's testimony. This implicates half the command. I have to act.
A few steps away, Yuria found a letter in her hand, her smirk crumbling to ash.
Number. He couldn't have. How did he write this? It's impossible.
By nightfall, the captain had mobilized half the guard. A special edition of the city paper carried the headline, "Conspiracy Unveiled." Guards stormed the clan holding. Renji tried to flee but was cornered in the corridor.
This was Uria's plot. She made me do it. I am just a pawn.
Yuria was found in her family's estate. The letter crumpled in her fist.
You think this changes anything? My bloodline is stronger than ink.
But the guards disarmed her, and the chains closed around her wrists. In the square, the medic lifted Hiroshi's head. His eyes were closed, lips curved in a faint smile. The crowd that had gathered stared not in horror, but reverence.
He wrote this for us. He knew we'd be killed next.
The avalanche of truth had begun, and there was no stopping it now. The trial began within days. The courtroom was packed with those seeking justice. The captain read Hiroshi's letter aloud, his voice steady. The evidence was undeniable. Yuria denied everything, but her own handwriting was matched to the conspiracy's correspondence.
This is a fabrication. He was nothing, a bastard. Why would I need to plot?
She planned everything. I saw her meet the rival clan leader. She promised me nothing.
Then, Saki took the stand, clutching the letter that had changed her life.
He died so the truth would live. My family's killers are in this room.
The verdict was returned in under an hour. Guilty. The gavel fell like a thunderclap. Hiroshi's portrait was raised in the square. The city hailed him as the silent judge. Saki and the captain shared a long look, then turned to face the rising sun together. Under a gray sky, Hiroshi's funeral drew a city that had learned his name too late. Saki placed a lily on the casket. The captain stood rigid, the letter still folded in his coat. Unseen, above the mourners, the air folded into a figure of shifting light, the god of time.
Hiroshi, you walked a path I did not foresee. You refused to forgive, yet you shed no blood. You chose to empower the broken.
Hiroshi's soul, no longer bound to the wound, stood bare before the deity.
This was justice, not vengeance. You passed the trial of the observer in a way none before you have.
Then, what happens to me?
You may ascend as the eternal observer, watch over worlds, ensure the truth is never silenced again.
Below, the mourners hugged and wept, never knowing the universe had just shifted. Hiroshi looked at the offer suspended before him. The 1,000 timelines, each a world that could know justice.
I spent 10 years learning that silence is a prison. I won't let it become anyone else's.
The god nodded once, and Hiroshi felt his form ignite with light. The tattered coat fell away. White hair flowed like woven time. His eyes opened as windows to eternity. The universe unfolded before him, 1,000 worlds, 1,000 histories, all speaking at once.
You are now the observer. Watch, and when the scales tip towards silence, you may act.
Then I will write, not letters this time, but moments, truths that cannot be erased.
He turned and saw in one timeline a girl who had just lost her family, the echo of a familiar pain.
Your silence ends now.
And just as he had once placed a letter in a small frozen hand, he now placed a whisper of truth on the wind from the weave of timelines. Hiroshi watched the world that had killed him, and he felt no tremor. Saki stood on a wooden stage, the letter he had placed in her frozen hand held tight against her heart.
He gave me more than truth. He gave me a voice. I will use it until every silenced story is heard.
In a dim cell, Yuria sat with the same letter, its edges worn from her grip.
I ended his life, and he still tried to save mine. Why?
Hiroshi watched her, and for the first time, there was no anger in him, only the quiet ache of what could have been. The crowd rose to their feet as Saki finished speaking, her words a rallying cry for a city reborn.
10 years I was trapped alone. Now I see I was never alone. They were all waiting.
Yuria pressed the letter to her lips, a single tear finally falling onto his name, and Hiroshi smiled without the weight of the frozen years, a smile that belonged to the universe. His gaze shifted. In another timeline, a young woman faced a knife and a betrayer's cold smirk.
Another mirror of my death. History repeating without a hand to stop it.
He watched the sister raise the blade, words of poison on her lips, identical to Yuria's.
You see the pattern now. This is why the observer exists.
Then I won't let her story end in silence.
He reached through the weave, planting a seed of justice instead of halting the blade. Just before the knife fell, a letter materialized in her hand, a truth she would survive to read.
She will have the chance I didn't. Her voice won't be buried.
You have become a true observer. Not a watcher, but a guardian.
Hiroshi closed his eyes, and the cosmos hummed with the quiet promise of 1,000 truths yet to be born. A year later, Saki stood before the memorial plaque, the captain at her side. The city rebuilt around them.
His letter gave me courage. We'll honor him by protecting every voice they tried to silence.
The corruption he exposed is still being rooted out. His work continues through us.
They clasped hands, a pact sealed under the same sky Hiroshi had last seen. The city stretched before them, rebuilt and awake, the scars of betrayal fading into memory, a double exposure. Hiroshi's serene death smile blended with the city's new sunrise, as if the universe itself had learned to hope. Light spilled over rooftops, a promise that the silence had been broken.
Thank you, Hiroshi. Your silence became the loudest voice in the city.
From his vantage beyond time, Hiroshi watched them, a smile still resting on his lips, and the observer returned to his vigil, the universe not silent, but resonant with justice. In the quiet of her cell, Yuria unfolded the worn letter once more. The words had not changed. Yuria, I could have killed you. I chose to let you live with the truth. One day, you might understand.
Why? After what I did, you still chose mercy.
A tear slid onto the page, smearing the ink of his name. She did not wipe it away.
I was so sure of my right to hate. Now I am not sure of anything.
From beneath her cot, she pulled a scrap of paper and a stub of charcoal.
I need to write. Not for them, for myself.
Her hand moved slowly, forming the first honest words she had ever written to him. Her shadow stretched across the wall, no longer rigid, but bent as if in penance. The letter was not an absolution, but it was a beginning. In the boundless silence between timelines, Hiroshi floated, a solitary figure of light and resolve. Flashes of a life once lived, a knife, a frozen world, a pen scratching truth onto paper, a woman weeping in a cell.
You chose justice over hate. That is the greatest power.
Hiroshi closed his eyes and let the weight of 10 frozen years dissolve like morning mist. The digital overlay that had sealed his fate flickered once, then faded into the starlight. His vigil had no end and no beginning, only the quiet hum of a universe learning to speak. On Earth, flowers bloomed on an honored grave, tended by hands that once held his letter. The captain stood before new recruits, his voice carrying the words Hiroshi had written. And in a cell where shadows once condemned, a shard of light caught the edge of an unfinished letter, and the observer watched, not as a judge, but as a promise that silence would never be the end.